understanding the many cultures that make each one of us who we are. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. It's an honor and a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk at the Plato Academy. Thank you. I want to start by talking about how to thrive in a multicultural world. And I want to start with one fact about this. First of all, it's not easy. As the world grows flatter and smaller, we will collide with each other more and more, and we have to think about how we can avoid that if possible. And I want to offer a few suggestions today, but this is the problem of thriving in the multicultural world. It's a daunting, a very huge challenge. I think that thriving will begin with understanding the many cultures that make each one of us who we are. I think that's the first step. Now, as I start on explaining this today, I want to put up the caution sign, and as it says here, cultural comparisons and generalization ahead. I have to say that I am a European American social cultural psychologist, and I'm going to talk about differences between the East and the West. When I'm going to about the West, I will mean Americans in the United States. When I'm talking about the East, I'm going to talk about Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese, and refer to this group as East Asians. Now, as an American, I know that it's a very diverse place, that people who voted for Hillary Clinton are not the same as people who voted for Donald Trump. I know that. I also know that among East Asians, there are equal amount of diversity. I know that Koreans are not Japanese, are not Chinese, and so forth. I understand great variation. But in our studies in cultural psychology, we have found there are some patterns of behavior when you compare East and West. It can be identified that are a function of our different national cultures, and I want to talk about those today and see what they can explain. Stanford, I am a university professor, and in that role, I have the opportunity to teach students from all over the world, many Korean undergraduate students and many Korean graduate students, and I have the opportunity to learn from them about some of the clashes that they experience when they come from Korea to the United States. Let me start by telling you first of all a story of one student who has been particularly helpful to me and looking at East and West patterns. Her name was Hee-jung Kim. She came from Seoul to study in Stanford to work on her PhD. Now, like most American professors in my seminars, I want the students to contribute. I want them to talk and express their ideas and opinions. That's what I expect. But with Hee-jung, there was nothing I could do that would get her to contribute to the class. I couldn't get her to raise her hands and talk. If I call her, she would look at her hands, study the table, she just wouldn't contribute even if I said that next week I'm going to call him. She still wouldn't say anything. So this was challenging to me. And one day I noticed on her email there was a problem by the signature, and it says simply, "The empty carriage rattles the loudest." So it took me a while to understand that. I didn't get it at first, but then I realized that Hee-sung's way of telling the American professor that she thought that very often the people that talk the most have the least to say. So this was fascinating to me, and as I got to know Hee-sung Kim better, I learned that she had grown up in schools that looked approximately like this. These are schools where students are encouraged to sit calmly with quiet minds to listen to the teacher trying to adjust their thinking to what the teacher is saying, trying to absorb as much information as possible. And she explained to me about the importance of hierarchy in Korean culture, the importance of knowing your place. She explained this was such a difficulty, as did many other Asian students, by calling the professor me by my first name Hazel. It took her a very long time to do that. Many students could do that. It was just impossible for them. Then she went to explain that it's the same in the classroom. When you're low in the knowledge hierarchy, if you are a junior person, a student, why should you contribute to the class? Why should you just start talking unless you have a very well-formed thought, a very clear idea? Then, only then, you're sure that that's right. You should raise your hands. And if you are not sure that is right, if you are not sure you are the person that should be contributing, it's better to remain silent. So this was my first lesson. But I realized that this experience, but many of other students in my class, the students with the European American students, they had grown up in classroom that looked more like this. Our classroom where students are encouraged to put up their hands and to tell their unique ideas, to compete with each other, to try to argue, even with the teacher, trying to influence the teacher, trying to debate, to stand out from the other students. Often in these classroom, students put their hands up even before they know what they are going to say, just to put their hands up to resolve a place. And so I began to see that there were real differences that were underlining these patterns of behavior in my seminar. And as I studied more about it with my colleagues and with students, I saw that these differences in classroom behavior reflected some very deep cultural differences in what is the right way to think, to act, to feel as a person. So, for example, that in the West, we say the squeaky wheel gets the correct. What does this mean? This means that is a person who makes a lot of noise, the person who talks a lot, who draw attention to herself, is the person who will have power and influence. In the East, I think you might recognize some version of this, which is the duck who quacks the most gets shot. And this is a very different idea about standing out and drawing attention to yourself. It says that drawing attention to yourself, being different from others, might put you in quite a vulnerable position. And it suggests that maybe that's not always being thing to do. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to show you some generalization that come from a great deal of empirical work we have done into cultural psychologists comparing East versus West. And I want to talk about where these differences come from, how culture shapes this way into being a person. Then I want to talk about how differences relate to being happy and to having a good life. So let me summarize a lot of this work through a few quizzes, and we'll start with this one. Okay. This is a quiz for you, so you have to particularly the task. So suppose I offer you a handful of pens, 5 pens, and I say please take one as a gift, and there are 4 of one color, say orange, and one of another color, say green. So let me see a show of hands. How many people would say that want the orange pen? The one that's in the majority. Let me see a show of the hands. You raise your hands so I can see too well. I want to get an explanation. Okay, quite a few people say orange. Okay, hands down. Now let me see a show of hands for how many people will say they want the green pen. The unique and in the minority. Okay, there's a lot of people in here that like the unique pen, and I did say about, I don't know, how about half and half. Let me show you what the data show from this study has been done. Many times when you see is that most of the time ones have been East Asian, and that East Asian, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, many different samples, East Asian, tend to say that they will prefer the pen, that they were most of the pen, that's in the majority. What Americans tend to say, no, I don't want the pen, I want the one that is distinctive, that's the green pen, that's the pen that stands out. And so I think this looks to be a unique group, they like the distinctive pen as well in here tonight. Okay, so that's one quiz. Now we get, this is another one. Okay, your house is on fire. I'm sorry. Now you come home and your house is on fire, and inside the house in your mother and your spouse. Okay, and it's a very serious fire. You can only have the time to save one person. You can save them. So this is a hard question. It's been the subject of quite a few studies in psychology. Now let me see a show of hands for people who would save their mother. Let me hands up. I think I see a large majority. Okay, hands down. Let me see how many will save their spouse. There's some minority. Okay. What you see, and these data are from a large number of studies done in Taiwan, that the Taiwanese response is save the mother, and the Chinese response, it's obvious. Your mother gave you life. You must honor your mother, your parents. They are beginning of everything. They are start of the wood. They mean everything. They say you can always get another spouse. The Americans have quite a different answer to this. They say spouse. Of course, spouse. Spouse is my choice. Spouse is my reflection of my preference. Spouse is a person, my soulmate, a person that I want to make my life with. Of course, I would choose my spouse. So just a very sharp differences in behavior in this emergency situation. I do them to say that how could we put them together, those responses that you gave, the responses that we see the differences between East and West. Of course, when you're explaining behavior, there are many factors that explain behavior, anyone's behavior, but what we see is that some lesson or fact that can explain some of these and what's the differences that gives us a clue to cultural clashes. And this first fact I'm going to talk about has to do with how people answer that very important question of what does it mean to have a good and a right person. What should a good person who's doing the right thing, what should that people do doing in life? This is a big question that people have to answer, society have to answer. And what we found in comparing East and West is that there are at least two big right answers to this question. They are both right, they are both viable, and it's the most important way to live and most important way to society to be organized, but in fact they are different and they are correspond to East and West. Let me start over here on the right, and let me start independence, and this is a way of answering what is a person supposed to do, doing and very common in the West. On the left, in a way of answering this question that's much more common in the East. Throughout East Asia now, both of these figures show a central circle which depicts of self surrounded by other circles, which is important to others in one slice of people everywhere are always in interaction with others, but it's a natural interaction that varies with independence in the right. You see, there is a sharp boundary, a sharp line between the self and others. So others are close to be, but they are separated from the self on the left under in the what is the circle of the self is overlapping the circle of others, and what's marked here in the red, what really matters with interdependence in the relation with others. So people are closer to each other, they are tighter with each other, and being a person involves connecting to others, adjusting to others, relating to others. Looking again on the right here, with independence, what we see is the right way, the cultural approach, the normality in the many places in the West, particularly in the United States, people should be somewhat separated, somewhat different, somewhat unique from others. This is the person's uniqueness that we see much of the West. We also see that they should be as part of being a right kind of person that should be right trying to influence others and influence the world, and the way to influence others is often through talking, through expressing your ideas, through your opinions, communicating them to others. Next in the list, people should be free. Free means free from history, free from tradition, free from circumstance, free from place. They should be not be to influence